Hello guys, welcome to my channel. Today I just want to address a couple of questions that came to my inbox and that also came to my email. People were asking the question that which hormone is responsible for the excess bleeding, the irregular periods that happen during perimenopausal stage. What will be happening? What happens and what are the changes that happen to our hormones, the most important hormones, as you transition to menopause and you're in your perimenopausal stage? In what stage can you start saying, now I am transitioning into menopause? In what stage can you say, I have started my perimenopausal stage? So welcome to my channel, and we will discuss that today. So on this channel, we'll talk about real life matters. I normally use myself as an example of what is going on in terms of perimenopause, and also my lessons, what I go out and go down the rabbit hole searching for things and solutions for a woman like myself who is going through this phase, and everything and anything in between. Thank you. So let's dive straight into it. So I would like to start by explaining the various stages that we go through during our lives as women, right from the stage where we are at puberty, when you start your reproductive years, up to the post-menopausal stage. So let's get into it. So we'll start with the puberty. So puberty is green when it all starts, when it says go and your body starts its reproductive years. That starts at puberty. So that's green. I call this stage your hormonal awakening stage. So everything, starts to work towards reproduction, and your body starts to mold itself, to prepare itself for those years that you are in your reproductive years. So what will be happening to your hormones at that time, and which hormones are we talking about? So I will not go, into the whole science of luteinizing hormone and this and that. No, what I want to touch on are the three main hormones that affect us, and the ones that we are most worried about, and what happens to us during that phase that we are in perimenopause. And that is all that I'm going to talk about. Just estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone. Just those three for today. We are not going to go into all the science and go down the rabbit hole talking about this and that hormone. No, we just want to talk about real practical layman's understanding of what's going on in our bodies when we go through that stage. So first things first, when you get to your when puberty happens, estrogen triggers things like breast development. You start to have boobs, you start to have hips, and your pelvis starts to mold itself into a shape of a woman who is going to carry a child. And you find that estrogen also affects your bone density, how heavy and how strong, and the strength of your pelvis, because this is where we carry our babies, isn't it? We carry them in our pelvis. So that's what estrogen will be doing throughout your reproductive years, to make sure that your body is prepared and well prepared for reproduction. So it is responsible during your menstrual cycle to thicken the uterus wall, and it does this together with progesterone. So at this stage, they are getting on very well. Estrogen and progesterone helping each other to prepare the uterus for a possible pregnancy. So progesterone at this stage, soon after ovulation, it goes higher to make sure that the wall of the uterus becomes very thick enough to carry a baby. And it also protects the uterus from losing all that protection, which is mostly the blood and the environment. So the environment is created by progesterone that will allow the egg to implant and the egg to stay, and for you to fall pregnant and to carry the pregnancy through. So it makes sure that the lining does not shed. So it will stay high at that time. And also testosterone at that time during your reproductive years, it is responsible for maintaining your and making sure that you have a libido. You actually have the ability and you actually want to have intercourse so you can reproduce. So your body gets into that phase. As soon as you hit puberty, your libido also kicks in to make sure that your whole body is prepared to reproduce. And testosterone also contributes to muscle development, and also it supports growth spurts, especially in teenagers. When you see them growing and growing and growing, it helps with that as well. And also whilst it's doing that, it also helps you with energy, and it helps you to build your muscle mass as well. So that's what testosterone is doing. It's not as high as progesterone or estrogen, but it's also there to do that as well. So a lot of times we hear that testosterone is for men. No, women also have testosterone. So now during those reproductive years, the other duty that estrogen has as well is to maintain your vaginal health. So in your vagina, the role of estrogen is to make sure that it is healthy, to make sure that the walls of the vagina are elastic and stretchable and they are strong, as well as it makes sure that they are well lubricated. So all this is in preparation for you to what? To reproduce. That's what it's there for. So it maintains your vaginal health, regulating your menstrual cycle, like I said, and together with progesterone. So during this time in your reproductive years, everything is nice, everything is hunky-dory, notwithstanding people who have other issues going on. So I'm talking about what is supposed to be happening, the way it's supposed to be happening. For some people, things change and things go a little bit differently, but that's how it's supposed to be. And there are other factors that also will be in play. So I will not talk about contraception today, because that's also sometimes addition of more hormones and other ways to control your cycle. But I'm talking about just a person who's the way it was created, the way we were so beautifully created by God, and to reproduce. Okay, now we come to the stage where in your body there is a trigger. Everyone has a different time where your body triggers and tells itself that we are now done with reproduction. We are now supposed to slowly, stop and come to an end of our reproductive phase. Now, the transition between that trigger, from that point where your reproductive years start to decline and to start to stop, that is what we call perimenopause. When it actually stops, when your reproductive years stop completely and you haven't had a period for 12 months, clinically they will say you have reached menopause. So at that point we say the factory has shut down, you no longer are reproductive. And that varies in a lot of women. So that stage between that trigger to say we are now closing shop and we are now going towards the stoppage of your period, it varies from woman to woman. The symptoms of that phase, it is not a disease, it is not a condition, it is a phase that we go through, a normal phase that we go through as women. So that part is the one that causes a lot of issues. So I assigned purple to that one. Nice and purple. It's a little bit dark. it's a little bit, it's not the brightish purple. It's kind of a sad purple, where a lot of what is happening is, is driving you absolutely up the wall, and your body is doing other things that you don't understand, which is what we've discussed in the other videos that are linked in this video. So I assigned it a purple. So that stage is the hormonal roller coaster stage. That stage is the one that has brought us to this point where we are talking about perimenopause. So once the trigger happens to say, now it is time for us to stop reproducing. Now the body has to now slowly start getting used to not having estrogen, not having progesterone, not having testosterone, controlling your reproductive cycle, because we no longer need the reproductive cycle, isn't it? So that stage is very difficult for most women. For some, they experience absolutely no symptoms, and bless them. You are blessed if you're not experiencing any symptoms during this phase and you just reach menopause and your period stops. Bless you. Some of us are going through it wildly, with chaos, with all the faith that will get to menopause in one piece. So during that time, estrogen and progesterone and testosterone. So we expect, when we hear this, or when we go to the doctor and they explain to us that, you are now going to where your period will stop, and you stop reproductive years, and the hormones are declining, you don't have enough estrogen or progesterone or testosterone, we expect that the decline is just a linear decline, it just starts going down, in a normal kind of fashion. But no, it doesn't happen that way. Unfortunately, it happens in a very sort of haphazard way. That's why I called it's a roller coaster. So it goes up and down, up and down. So these hormones sometimes spike, and then that's when, if you go to the doctor, or if you are aware of the symptoms of what is happening, you're having estrogen predominance, and that causes all your irregular periods, and that causes the heavy bleeding, because you don't have enough progesterone to stop the bleeding, and estrogen is dominating at that time. Sometimes you continue to bleed, you have irregular periods, and they are very heavy. And also things that sometimes were no longer happening or never happened, things like period pains. You start having period pains, which for some women is the first time. They've never had period pains, and now all of a sudden they start having period pains. And I think when I've looked at the symptoms, talked to a couple of clients of mine, talked to a couple of friends, it seems like that's one of the major signs that you are now in your perimenopausal stage. Your periods become heavier. Your periods become irregular. They might come more times than normal. They might come much less, fewer times, and they might become very heavy. And they might become prolonged. Or for some, what I went through is they became heavy, prolonged, and it would be like I have ended my monthly period, but I would continue to spot and bleed a little bit, and right up until the next 28 days or 21 days. In the end, it was 21-day cycle, and it would start all over again, almost like a tap has been opened and then not closed properly, and then it continues and continues. So I was at the perimenopausal stage where the bleeding just becomes so irregular, and you end up going to your doctor to find solutions. The solution that worked for me was the Mirena coil, which is a video that I did previously, and I explained what happened. So I went into the hospital and they inserted the coil. I had also developed a small fibroid and a polyp, which they removed at that time, and then they inserted the coil. And since the coil has been inserted, I can say confidently that my period, it's still irregular. it doesn't come as often as it had started to become. It now comes, the cycle is almost like about 30 something days, and the bleeding is very, very minimal, very minimal. So for me, that was the best thing that happened, because the bleeding for myself had now led to low iron. It had also led to me getting iron infusions. So because I didn't have any iron or any blood enough in my body, I had a lot of fatigue. I had a lot of headaches. The brain fog became worse, and also the breathing and the sleeping, everything just deteriorated because I lacked iron. I didn't have enough blood in my body, and I had to have an iron infusion regularly. So that has sort of solved a mountain of problems for myself. So someone did ask me, like, what are the other side effects that women feel? So the side effects that I feel, I did mention in the other video, I have breast tenderness. So my boobs are really tender most of the time. So when I put on a bra, most of the time now I just wear a gym bra because that's the most comfortable, not the normal underwire, you know, seriously lifting them girls kind of bras. I cannot do that anymore because they feel very tender. And also I get headaches sometimes, and I've had a migraine. For the first time in a very long time, I had a migraine. So I'm suspecting it is the progesterone. For some other women, they also experience spotting in between their periods. I haven't experienced that. And for some women, they continue to have the cramping that you have in the first couple of days after insertion. My cramping did not continue. Some women also have a lot of acne and oily skin. When menopause started, perimenopause started for me, I started to get acne. So I do still have signs of acne. So I wouldn't really fault the Mirena coil for that. I think it was already there. The other side effects that I've read about are ovarian cysts, back pain, decreased libido, and vaginal discharge. I don't have that. I don't have any of that. So those are some of the other symptoms, side effects. And also for some people, unfortunately, they might get uterine perforation. So the uterus might get perforated during insertion by mistake. And also expulsion. For some women, apparently, the coil can expel itself out of the uterus, partially or complete. So if you experience any side effects, go to your GP. When you do the reviews, do tell them what is going on. I know as women, we tend to say, you know, everything is all right, everything is fine, but always tell them. I will talk in my next video, I will talk about your visit to the GP, your regular visits to your doctor. Depending on who your doctor is, you might have a GP, you might have a gynecologist, and how you can approach certain issues in terms of bleeding and the other symptoms of menopause. So that will be the very next video that you will see, the visit to the doctor and what you can address and how you can express yourself clearly. That will be in the next video. So to conclude, estrogen and progesterone and testosterone. So after you have had a complete end of your period and you no longer have a period for 12 months, they now say you are in menopause. And the next stage is post-menopause. So that's another stage that we go through. So for the menopause, I assigned red. So that's like the stop sign. No more, nothing, no more reproduction, no more babies, no more periods. But the effects of having low estrogen and low progesterone, at this point now, they no longer fluctuate as they were during perimenopause, during the purple phase. They are now sort of consistently low, very low key, very low, and doing very little in your body and testosterone. We will do another talk on hormone replacement therapy and what that means if you are going through menopause. and if that will stop your menopause. So stay tuned. We will have a discussion about that. And also, I did ask my GP, so how will I know that I have reached menopause? Because the coil actually, for most people, will stop you from having your periods anyway. So my GP explained to me that there are a host of symptoms that we are looking at, and also with age, and she'll look at it holistically to say you are now at menopause because you have stopped bleeding completely. And I've only had the coil for about 6 months now, almost 6 months now, so we are not yet there. So once we get there, we will start to address, and I will also start reading about how do you start to know if you are on any therapy at all, any hormonal therapy, to know that I have now reached menopause. It has stopped. I'm no longer ovulating, and the period will never come back, even if you remove the coil. So most women will keep the coil in anyway to get that progesterone, at least some progesterone in your uterus for a very long time. So thank you guys. That's what I wanted to address, and thank you for those who sent me questions. I'm very grateful, very happy. Please share the videos. Please subscribe to my channel. Click the notification button. As soon as a new video drops, you will get it. So the next video is about the visit to the doctor and how you can articulate yourself to be able to give your doctor a very good, clear indication of the stage that you are in, and so that you don't forget. I always carry a sticky note, always, to my doctor, because we are going through perimenopause, we forget. And some of the symptoms, we're not even sure, is it part of perimenopause or is it not? So I always write things down. So we will have a nice, candid discussion, and I'll show you the types of documents that I have, journals, I have my symptoms bank. So